right, welcome everybody to another episode of Burn Your Boat's Wealth. This is a timely 10. I am your solo host for the day, and I'm going to do my best for everyone listening to keep this to under 10 minutes. I can't promise it, but I'm going to keep trying to get better and better at this. So with all that being said, let's jump right in. I just got back from a trip to the Dominican Republic. I was there for about 8 or 9 days, spent about 2/3 of that time in kind of a commercial real estate business mastermind group, okay? There's probably about 100 entrepreneurs there that were able to kind of really get a chance to meet, greet, exchange ideas, exchange best practices. There was definitely some tears shed by many people. I'm not going to say if I was one of them or not, maybe. It was a good time to get together and really feel like you're in a safe place to talk about your struggles and then try and find ideas to be able to implement when you return back to your home, in your business, in trying to get out of your W-2 job, in trying to grow it, in trying to bust through those doors and windows. But what I wanted to do is, it's hot on my mind right now. So I wanted to hop on here and kind of just give you a few takeaways that just stuck out at me as I had probably 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 conversations throughout a 3 or 4 day period. I think it's important because it's not inexpensive, right? I probably spent $6,000, $7,000 just for that time to be there. And so I want to take as much out of it as I can. And I want you to be able to benefit from that so that you don't have to spend $6,000 or $7,000, albeit that if you want to really get to where you're wanting to succeed and grow and push yourself and be uncomfortable, a lot of times you do have to spend a decent amount of money to put yourself in those rooms. Because I hope that this podcast is going to help you today, but is it going to change your life with a 10-minute podcast? Probably not. It's going to require you to take some massive actions. So here's some things that I took away from it. The number one theme that I noticed after talking with all these different entrepreneurs that are in different stages of their lives, they live in different areas of the country, is that their biggest challenge when they're starting a business is starting into, buying larger commercial real estate, buying a laundromat or of whatever businesses that they are, is that, we kind of get grouped into two different types of personality types. You have, if you've ever read the book Rocket Fuel, it's really, really good. It talks about the visionary and the integrator, right? The visionary is the one that kind of has the ideas. They're willing to take the risks. Usually they're the ones that's they're on their faces on the brochure of the company. But they're not very organized, right? They're not very good at implementing systems. So you have the other side of the coin, which is the integrator, okay? And the integrator is the one that's maybe not quite as outspoken. Maybe they don't care as much. Maybe they kind of want to be behind the scenes. They don't want to have the microphone in their hand. So it's really good to understand who you are. Are you the visionary or are you the integrator? Go read Rocket Fuel. It really helps to kind of identify which side you are. And the thing that I noticed is that people that were struggling the most, they were one of the two, but they didn't have the other one in their business, right? So if they were the visionary, right? I'm a visionary, okay? I'm sitting here talking to you on this microphone, right? There's probably not as many integrators that have like a podcast, right? Because it's not something they enjoy. They don't like to be in front of the camera. They like to be behind the camera, pulling all the strings as to making a show happen, just to kind of give you an idea. So my big takeaway number one is that I noticed that it's, again, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again and again, it's my motto for 2025, is who, not how, right? So a lot of people say, well, how do I start a business? How do I buy a business? How do I, do all these things? Instead of asking how I need to do something, right? You reframe it to who is out there that maybe has skill sets that I don't have, that we can come together and really create something special, go out and buy a business where you can use your skill sets as a partner and then the other person that you find, right? How do you find this person? Can you find them through social media? Of course you can, but being in these rooms like I was in for the last 3 or 4 days, it's much easier because it's like speed dating, right? You're having 10, 15-minute conversations. They're telling you their challenges, you telling them yours. And sometimes you connect. You're like, wait a second, your challenge that you're facing is something I'm really good at, okay? And then my challenge that I'm having is something that you excel at in terms of your skill set. Maybe we should talk further to see if there's a partnership, or even just to have further discussions on how you can help each other. So my number one takeaway by far is the people that were struggling the most they weren't asking who is the missing link in my business. They're asking how do I become better in sales, right? So I had a good conversation with someone and she was having trouble like talking with people on the phone to try and sell, whatever widget that her business sold. And look, could she go to management training or go to sales training, try and find tips, read books, listen to podcasts? Of course she could, right? But in all reality, does she really enjoy it? Probably not. Would it be better to have someone that excels in that for her to be able to help either partner with or hire to take that role so she can really focus on building the business, which is what her passion is, right? So that was like evidently obvious. When you are getting into entrepreneurship, start asking yourself, who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to bring on my team? Who do I need to partner with? As opposed to like, how do I go out and buy, 10,000 square feet of self-storage, right? I don't know how to buy 10,000 square feet of self-storage, but there are people out there that do. Maybe I should connect with them to see what their pain points are, to see if I can, bridge that gap and bring my skill sets in to maybe fix some of their problems. And then in turn, they can fix mine. Okay. Number two, right, is I noticed that the most successful people in the room, their gap, the delta between an idea and actually implementing that idea, putting it in place and going as fast as possible is very, very short. Okay. So we're all guilty of having an idea. We talk about it. We put it on social media. We watch some YouTube videos. We get distracted. We don't do it, right? We're all guilty of it, right? The most successful people in that room of 100 people, by far, I could tell that their gap between actually having this idea and actually making it happen was so short, right? So guess what? If they have, the challenge though is that if you're just a solopreneur, right? And you're worried because the skill sets that you don't have are keeping you from implementing that idea. Well, guess what? That's going to be a really long delta, a wide delta between you actually coming up with the idea and actually making it happen. Once you've found your who, it makes it much easier to be able to see an idea and say, okay, I see the idea, I see the vision, I have an integrator that can make these systems happen, and we can start this thing in a week, and we can hit the ground running and go, right? So once you've kind of figured out your who, okay, then it also makes it easier to identify opportunities, identify ideas, and then quickly pivot and move them into an integration stage instead of just talking about it for the next 3 years to your friends and family over a couple beers at a happy hour. That's all well and great. But if you're not integrating, if you're not actually initiating any action, it's just a dream. And at the end of the day, that's not going to put any extra money in your bank account. It's not going to change your life one bit. Okay. So the last thing that I kind of noticed is that I'd like to think a lot of people listening to this podcast are successful. They're good at what they do, right? But they're maybe not fulfilled. Maybe they're not, you're meeting all their expectations, right? So it's like, how do you meet your expectations? How do you become financially free? Well, a lot of times though, is that what has gotten you to the success that you currently have achieved is not going to be the same skill sets that are going to get you over the hump. So let me give you an example, right? So like, let's say I was just watching a highlight with LeBron James. Well, when LeBron James was coming up through high school and went straight to the NBA, right? He just had all this talent. He was just bigger, faster, stronger than everyone. But now LeBron James is like in his early 40s, right? Do you think that he has to work harder now? He has to think differently. He has to train differently. He has to spend time around different people. Do you think LeBron's James circle is probably slightly different than it was 20 years ago when he was 20 years old and just had his high school buddies and people surrounding him that tell him what he wanted to hear, right? He was probably younger, faster, agile, didn't get injured as much. I think business is the same thing. So what do I mean by that is that the success that you have probably achieved to this point right now, a lot of it is probably in spite of your surrounding, in spite of your network, in spite of your family telling you that, hey, that's maybe not a good idea, because you just have this drive to be successful, right? The problem is that life happens, right? You have start families, you have spouses, you have things that get in the way. And it's not so easy to just lean on kind of your natural born tendencies to just outwork everyone, in your job or in your company or in your business, right? You have to start working harder. So the things that got you the success to where you're currently at doesn't necessarily mean that you have to think bigger and start looking and saying, okay, at the end of the day, I need to make sure I'm working as smart as possible and as efficient as possible, and not just leaning on, the attitude of I'm going to outwork everyone, right? Because ultimately we want to have time to be able to do the things we want to do. And if you're constantly working till 10 o'clock at night, it's one thing to do that at 25 years old, but at 45 years old, I don't know a lot of people that want to work till 10 o'clock at night when they have family, they're missing time out, their health is sacrificing, all of those things. So just keep in mind is that the success that you have achieved to this date, it may be really hard to continue to grow yourself in an expedited fashion without changing some of the habits, without changing the things that you put in your body. The things that you put in your body, i.e. like your network, the consumption of social media, the consumption of, your what you watch, right? Who you talk to, right? So keep that in mind, is that maybe I need to start looking and being smarter and more efficient with my time, because all the amazing things that have gotten me to where I'm currently at aren't sustainable, and it's going to really, really slow my growth. So those are the three things that I noticed that kind of really stuck out with me with the most successful people, and then also the people that were struggling with certain things. And it didn't hurt that it was in the Dominican Republic either. So I highly, highly recommend these mastermind groups where you're able to travel to these really cool destinations, where you're able to get a little bit of, feet in the sand type, feeling, getting those beautiful views of the water, but surrounding yourself with amazing people that are in similar predicaments to you. But just remember this one thing, is that I go to the DR, I get on a flight, probably spent $7,000 or $8,000 just for this one trip. Well, those other 100 people in the room also spent $7,000 to $8,000. Do you think that those 100 people in the room are focused? Do you think that they are there to just kick back and have a bunch of Coronas and go sit on the beach? Absolutely not, right? They are there to be efficient, to network, to get as many things accomplished as possible, to provide as much value as possible, because they are spending the money, they're spending the time, they're stepping away from their business, right? So if you want to be in a place where you're stuck in a box for 3 days with people, I want to be stuck in the box with the people that are also spending $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 to be there, because they're there to really make things happen. Anyways, those were my takeaways from 8 days in the Dominican Republic. It was fresh on my brain, and so I figured I'd hop on here and share that. Hopefully those are a few things that you can take away from. But again, everyone, it's all about your mentality, your mindset, and how you can reframe the way that you look at things, because the things that got you to where you're at today may not be the best practices going forward to get you to where you want to go. Everyone, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Well, that is a wrap for today, folks. We hope that this episode gave you some actionable insights, because remember, it requires more than just luck. You're going to need strategy, you're going to need knowledge, and of course, you're going to need a little dash of courage. And if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Leave us a review on any of the podcast platforms that you listen to, and YouTube as well. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Burn Your Boats Wealth, and leave comments, talk to us about things that you want us to talk about or things you disagree with us on. We appreciate all that type of insight. Your support really fuels our fire to bring you even more valuable content. So we appreciate you. We appreciate the support, and we will see you next time.
You've been listening to the Burn Your Boats Wealth podcast with Clark Lunt and David Shaw. We would love to hear from you. Please reach out at contact@burnyourboatswealth.com with comments, questions, and if you have a topic you would like Clark and David to discuss on an upcoming episode. We would very much appreciate it if you took the time to rate and review Burn Your Boats on your favorite podcast listening app, and make sure to follow and share on social media. Content in Burn Your Boats Wealth podcast is for entertainment purposes only and is not legal or financial advice. Please review our legal disclaimer at burnyourboatswealth.com. Thank you and have a great day.